Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today's video is going to be support tier list. We're going to be going down about 32 gods, guardians, warriors, assassins, mages, no hunters. Maybe we'll talk about Anhur. Actually, we'll do Anhur at the end. Sure, we'll do Anhur because I do think he's an okay support. We're going to be going down all the tiers F, S, A, D, B, Elemental Q. We're going to be talking about all of them individually, why they're good, why they're not good. Let's just go down the list. Very easy peasy. These are the pools of supports that we're going to be going over. Starting with Achilles. Achilles is A tier. Very easy to win laning phase. Solid mystical mail builder. Can chain executes. Can chain carry the game. Or can carry the game. Execute is a threat early and late. And having a, maybe not instant hard CC, but a hard CC that you can kind of play around is very nice. I think Achilles is very, very good. Aphrodite, and this is a ranked tier list. Aphrodite is S tier. This character's busted. She always has been. Her rework was mind-blowingly OP. I don't like it. I've gone through kind of phases where I really liked it when they did it, and then I'm slowly starting to like it less and less, and now I'm in a spot where I almost don't like it because the character is just a Omega tank that also makes one of her allies an Omega tank. And unless you somehow, luckily, barely somehow get a gank or win a 2v2 early game, you just permanently center your tower against Aphrodite. She is so boring to play against. She's so OP. I hate her. Ares, another very OP god, but in a different vein where instead of him helping his teammates, he will hard carry via damage. Mystical Mail on Ares is unreal. Pesty, Void Domaru, all these items are very, very good. Ares has enough damage to threaten backliners. I think he's in a very good spot, and he wins a lot of laning phases. RDO still stinks. So bad. She can stack Cloak, which is pretty good, but outside of that, she is pretty weak. I don't think she wins laning phases, which is what she's supposed to be strong at. If it goes late game, she just gets one shot. F for RDO. Athena, we're going to put her in A tier still. Dash Taunt is just always going to be OP and ranked, and then the global potential she has is also insane. She's not a hard carry support, though. Like most other supports, you can kind of hard carry games. She is very reliant on her allies to kind of listen to her and play around her, which is a little annoying, but I still think she's very good. Atlas. I think Atlas is a nice B tier god. Okay laning phase, okay mid game, really good late game. He's also a damage dealer when he goes late, so kind of like a few other gods later in the list where if you do get to the late game, you are able to get your blink off. You can 100 to 0 backliners, and you're also going to be very tanky. Bacchus, same tier as Atlas, same kind of shtick as Atlas, just slightly different in the early game. He's really good in laning phase, really good early game. Mid game, he's also very good. I think late game, maybe he falls off a tiny bit because he doesn't have any great CC. Like Flop is a good CC, but it's a little slow and it's hard to hit if they know you're using it. Burp just gets interrupted or dashed away from. Ult is good, but it's not like a hard CC. But he's very good at getting fights started. Bake, S tier. I'm not a Bake hater like a lot of people are. I think he's a fine character. I do think he's just still a little on the strong side. So much damage, can 1v2, can win laning phases. I do think he's still just a better solo laner. So like while he's S tier in support, he's like SS in solo. So keep that in mind where if your solo laner wants it, maybe give it to him. Baron. I'm a Baron hater. I hate this character. I think he's so bad. He's got an okay matchup in Diamoja, but outside of that, I think he's just bad. And I'm a hater for him. Kabrakan, I'm doing it. F tier in support. The one thing he does that I like is his CC is very good and very easy to hit, to confirm and very easy to lock down. But his 3 just seems useless if he doesn't build any power. And if he builds power, he just gets one shot. He's good with Absolution. I've gone on and off also with Kabrakan, but I'm in a point where I think he's such a bad support. Serb, I actually think Serb's a fine support. Do I think he's in this B tier with Atlas and Bacchus? No, I think his damage is a little too easy to interrupt, kind of like Bacchus. I think his safety is not there. I think his laning phase is not nearly as strong as Bacchus. And then his late game payoff isn't nearly as good as Atlas. So I think he's just kind of meh at everything. But anti-heal is always going to be good, so there's something. Charon is incredible. This character is busted in support. He's very easy to play. So the reason Charon is so strong in ranked but not a competitive is his neutral game. Like before the fights are actually all in and fought, he is the best at that because he outtrades most gods because he gets the shield from his 2. His 1 is very easy poke, and then he just can kind of trade autos even if you're out autoing him because he's getting that shield from his 2. His ult is also very impactful, but for the most part, it's just his neutral game is so incredible that it's just very easy to kind of just outpoke and then just slowly win fights. Cthulhu, terrible support. I also think he's a really bad solo laner, but every time I don't add Cthulhu or Yorm in these lists, it's like, where's Cthulhu and Yorm? Dog shit, that's where they are. Erlang. I love Erlang right now. I think my Erlang build, if you guys know, it's in the YouTube videos. I don't know if Mario wants to link it somewhere over here.
No, thanks.
But it's such an incredible build. You do so much damage. You can kind of one-shot just about anyone. You outtrade most gods. Yes, if you fall behind, it's not great. But that's every warrior. If you fall behind on Achilles, it's also not going to be great. He said after a buff, so I actually think is okay in support. I think she's a good Spartan flag user. She gives good survivability to her and her teammates. She doesn't have to go into compassion. She can go like that more aggressive option with Spartan flag, so she's not as squishy in the laning phase. And then I also think she makes good use of the power that you get from Spartan flag, and you build like an E-staff somewhere or a gem somewhere, maybe a Deso somewhere. You actually feel impactful with that. You also get your ult charged up faster, which is very nice. So yeah, I think he sits in a good spot. I think Fafnir's pretty bad right now, mostly because there's just not a big payoff for him. He's always kind of had a problem where he's not the most fluid character. Like when you transform, it's really delayed. And then when you transform, you have like 20 seconds early game to actually win the fight. So it's one rotation of abilities. If you miss one of them, you're just screwed. And I just think his payoff is not nearly as high as most of the other characters. If you do stun someone, lock him down, one-shot him, yeah, that's a great feeling. But a lot of characters can kind of do that and can kind of do it easier. So yeah, Fenrir stinks in support right now. I almost didn't want to add any of the assassins because I think all of them are pretty bad right now. But just imagine this is all three assassins, Fenrir, Serket, and Naja. I think they're all bad. Ganesh is incredible right now. Was incredible last year, still incredible this year. Very good defensive support. My one gripe with him is that he's not like a dive support right now, and a lot of tanks do damage currently in the meta, especially with Mystical Mail, Void, Damaru, Pesties, and then just base damage. Supports can threaten backliners, but if Ganesh gets ahead or if you fall behind even slightly, you kind of just aren't doing anything, aren't doing damage, are just getting peeled and then killed.
That's called motherfucking boys!
Geb is in B tier. I think with the more aggressive support meta, Geb could be okay, but I think there's just so much damage in the game from supports and solos and jungles that it's hard to peel. And I think Ganesh peels the current way a little bit better. Peels for both of his allies instead of just shielding one of them. But I still think he's fine. Gilg, I don't like Gilg in support, but I just wanted to add it in here. I think he just doesn't do enough. Hell, kind of the same thing as Aphrodite. I think Hell's insane. Slightly worse than what Aphro does, but can be more annoying if she gets ahead because it's kind of more survivability for her entire team. Just a slightly weaker laning phase or slightly harder laning phase, I guess would be a better way to say it, because you have to kind of manage all your stats a little bit more and your abilities a little bit more. Aphrodite can just spam them, but I still think Hell is insanely good. Hercules, I think Herc is very strong right now, but I think it's more of the character is strong if you're good with him, but I've just convinced myself he's a B tier. His problem is he doesn't do enough damage like these characters does, and his displacement is not nearly as impactful as their damage is. And then the same with these ones. He's very hard to play into Ganesh. He's very hard to play into a lot of these characters because a lot of times you just walk up, get CC'd. But I do think he's still okay and mentionable in those top half of supports. And I think Horus is in like that same tier, dominates laning phase. Does fall off a little bit when it goes late because I think his ult is a little less impactful than you'd like it to be, but there's still some playmaking potential there, so yeah. Yorm is terrible. Khepri is in a good spot right now. Kind of the same thing as Ganesh, just peels multiple different options, gives slightly tankier stats to his backliners, has the shield from his passive, has the 2, has the ultimate, so a lot of peeling options. Not a great laning phase, but and also the mid game is a little rough because of how big he is, but still, he's very good. Kumba, I'm moving Kumba out of the bottom tier. I don't think Kumba's as bad as these. I would take a Kumba happily over any of these gods. Is he strong? No. Is he good enough? Yes. And that's what you'll take when you're talking about Kumba. He's strong enough. Kuzumbo's insane. I love Kuzumbo. Again, I think he would be a lot stronger if Horrific Emblem wasn't nearly as strong as it is. Yes, he can use it, but he wants to build something like Thorns a lot of the time. And also when he's blinking into the backline, if he gets Horrific, he's just getting his own damage reduced because that's the only way he can play. Charon, Ares can play another way of Smite that can play to just kill the frontliners. Kuzuma doesn't really do that. Maui, I think Maui's really bad right now. I think he has some playmaking potential and he's got some strengths. He's got a good laning phase, but he's really just risky and the payoff is just not there. Like compare Maui's abilities and Maui's potential to like an Aphrodite or Bake or Charon. It's just these ones are so much easier and they do more with their ease. And he's hard and he doesn't have that massive payoff. Nox, same as he said, I think she's a fine pick. Can be really good into these dive characters because she locks them down and they never really go beads. Just a somewhat weaker laning phase. But if you do get to that mid game, that late game, Nox is one of the best supports you can have. It's just a little harder to get there. Sobek busted. Insanely good laning phase. Good payoff in the late game. A little extra damage from Mystical Mail, Void Maros, Pesty, stuff like that. Pridwins. Makes it so he can threaten backliners. So Sobek is very strong. Sylve, meh. Wins lanes, yes, but then as soon as you get out of laning phase, you just kind of die unless you're just him and are hitting pulls and never missing. You're just so susceptible to getting CC'd in one shot whenever you go for a pull. So if it misses, you're dead. If it hits, you're probably killing whoever you're pulling. So it's just very risky. And the payoff is just not really there. Tara, I gotta put her in at least C or B. She still just has really good playmaking potential. Actually, we're doing B, because I think she plays very well as a dive character right now. A lot of CC. Her damage is good. She can go Mystical Mail to proc her ult more. Her damage is not like one-shot damage, but I think she gets like the entire enemy team down to at least half. And then you just have to rely on your teammates to kind of clean people up, which is not the best sometimes, but sometimes it's good enough to win a lot of fights. Xing Chen, Maui tier. Just doesn't do anything. He does like okay damage, but even then, like, you'd want just like one of these ones that do the more okay damage and just have better kits overall. Like, his 1 is just whatever. His 2 is kind of, I mean, it's fine. His jump gives him a lot of safety, which is sick, yes. And then his ult can pull beads, but there's no reason to play Xing Chen, in my opinion. If you want a survivability god, like Terra, Sobek, don't survive nearly as hard, but they're just so much better. Yamoja, I'm putting her in A tier instead of S tier because horrific emblem. It makes it very hard to play her because part of your strength comes in the shields and the healing, and Horrific kind of shuts that down. But if you just go like an offensive style Umoja where you max your 1, you go Horn Shard, you go Med and just get a bunch of 1s and spam the 1s, you're very high damage dealing god. You're just not that high utility, can do a bunch of different things. It's really just the damage Yamoja. Ymir, I'm going to do him in the same tier as Sylve because they kind of do the same thing. I just think Ymir's a little bit safer and a little bit better, but they both are pretty good in laning phase. Sylve slightly better. Ymir, when it gets to that mid game, wall's insane, but when it goes late, a lot of times you're just kind of dying. So, meh. But I do think he's still fine. And then Anhur, I'm going to put Anhur in B tier because he's actually a really good laner, especially being able to go Golden Shard now. You just kind of win most lanes. And if you scale well into the late game and if you know how to hit auto attacks and you know the build, he's actually a very good late game character. If you go something like War Banner, Thebes, Xe, Kins, Shoguns, Berserkers or something like that, you have a lot of threat in the late game, and you're also very, very tanky, and you kind of have to be dealt with, otherwise you can carry fights. His 1 is also incredibly impactful. His passive is really strong in the early game laning phase with another physical god in lane with you. So I'm putting Anhur in B tier. But that's the support tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything that I'm maybe missing from that top tier, or something that you think is an absolute stinker god that belongs in that F tier? Let me know down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.